Hello, everybody. Welcome to my first YouTube Live. Thank you guys so much for being here. Honestly, I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm going to figure it out. I think JT tried to join, but I don't know what happened. Let's see, am I sideways? Do I need to tell me if I'm sideways? I'm going to see if I can see the chat. Let's see if we can add him. Maybe I'm sideways. Hello?
How's it going?
Hey, pretty good. How are you?
I'm good. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. Am I sideways?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll figure this out. Of course. I'll figure this out. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Good. I've been solo with my baby today, and it was nice not having to worry about my toddler today.
Right.
Yeah. How are your kids?
Good. They are watching Mario.
That made a
Which,
comeback.
yeah. So have you seen the new one?
No.
Yeah, they just did an animated one. Chris Pratt, Seth Rogen, a couple other Jack Black do the voices of it. Just started streaming on Peacock a couple days ago, about a week ago. Yeah, they love it.
Cool. My toddler's not into the normal toddler stuff. He's into he watches like Hot Wheels, the Hot Wheels channel on YouTube Kids, and that's kind of like that's the majority of his viewing stuff. Is just anything with vehicles in it, and I'm okay with that, you know. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
mine love monster trucks.
Yeah, well, he loves emergency vehicles, but he'll go through phases where he gets into trains, or airplanes. You know, who knows? They go through phases.
For sure.
Yeah. So thank you guys so much for being here, and thank you for accepting to come on my channel, even though I have no idea what I'm doing.
I don't either. I was like, I feel like it's got to be like a podcast. Like I've done a couple podcasts in the past. Like I used to be part of a podcast. The only difference is you can't edit anything out, right? So like in a podcast, I can say whatever I want. And if I sound terrible, then you edit it out and we're good. But
no, yeah, this is it. This is the real deal. There's no editing anything out.
Right.
So that's okay. I've embraced my mistakes and my flaws anyway. Okay, so I want to encourage you guys to hit the thumb up on your way in. And if you think you know someone who may benefit from hearing what an experienced carnivore has to say about building muscle on this way of eating and just sticking through this way of eating, I'm sure with ups and downs, right? Like everyone. But if you think someone can benefit from it, then go ahead and share this this video. And let's get started with my first question. What is your name?
Jason.
Jason.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's not completely like I've gotten that one. It's like, well, you hide behind a pseudonym. Well, I'm like, well, it was actually a nickname that was given to me that in a work setting took off back when I got out of college. So I've kind of used JT since then as a like social media name with it. But yeah.
What does a T stand for?
So when I got out of college, I worked at a gym and I was like, you know what? I'm not happy with the size of my traps. So I'm just going to do traps all the time. And I got to the point where my traps were slightly disproportionately larger than the rest of my upper body. And a guy at work just started calling me JT. And I was like, okay, I don't know what that is. I literally didn't know for like 3 months what they were calling me. And it stands for just traps. So I just embraced it. I'm like, fine. Everybody assumes it has something to do with my name, but I'm like, no, it's close
I
enough.
did too. I was thinking like it's his last name, duh. And I thought, what a a bad first question because it's supposed to be something interesting, and it is something interesting. Turns out,
Yeah.
cool.
So,
Um, so I was thinking like, is it Justin Timberlake? What's
well,
it gonna be?
so I knew it was like a nickname in jest. So I mean, this was back, shoot, like 2011, 2012. So I knew there was like something that was like poking fun at me. I knew it wasn't like a Justin Timberlake reference, even though like JT was popular back then. But I was just
Mhm.
like, I'm not even gonna fight it. And so that's literally all anybody called me was
Yeah,
JT, and I had no idea what it meant. I was like, all right, that's my name. I'm just gonna embrace it now,
it becomes part of you. I grew up with a nickname.
right?
Mexicans, we have a thing for nicknames, and it's always your weakness or your flaw or something you're embarrassed about. That's what sticks with you is that. So, yeah, I outgrew those. Eventually, you learn not to care, but it sucks.
For
What
sure.
are you drinking?
Huh?
What are you drinking?
It's just water.
Oh, out of a mug?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it's got to be my favorite mug.
Right. I need to get me one of those. I need something spiffy like that. All I have is the regular old mugs. I'm drinking electrolytes with tahine. Do you know what that is?
Mm-mm.
Okay. It's a mix of chili powder, salt, and lime powder. And Hispanics like to put it on stuff, all kinds of stuff, fruit, alcoholic drinks, and stuff like that. And I got the watermelon lime flavored electrolytes, and I figured, let's try it. And it turns out it's really good. So that's what I'm
Sounds like a
drinking.
nice little kick to it.
It is, yeah. I mean, it's not spicy, like you would expect it to be, but yeah,
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 very nice.
uh,
Yeah, I don't get very creative with my drinks. Like
yeah.
drink water and black coffee, and
You don't add
that's
anything to your coffee?
no. So I used to when I first oh I didn't start drinking coffee until after college. I was like, I swore I'd never drink coffee. I was like, I'm never gonna drink it. Started drinking it when I had an early job. Always cream, uh, usually flavored cream, and started doing physique shows, and that's got to go. So I was like, well, I'm not giving up the coffee, so I'm gonna learn to like it black, and that's honestly just how I've stuck with it for the last 10 or so years.
See, I would love to be able to do that one day. Is just like coffee for. I almost rather give up coffee than to drink it black. It sounds
Yeah,
kind of, but
I won't give it up.
yeah.
I that soothes my soul when I'm awoken at 5 o'clock in the morning by two little toddlers. Like I I need it. People trying to be like, oh, you give it up. It's a plant. You shouldn't drink it. And I'm like, no, that's going to be my concession in
No.
life. I will drink coffee.
Yes. Especially if you're in I mean, people who say that I feel like are just extremely strong, or they don't have toddlers that wake them up at 3 a.m. or 5 a.m. My
Yeah.
toddler woke up at 3:50 a.m. Yes, last night. Then I nursed Sophia at 4:25 a.m. And after that, thank goodness my husband stepped in and he woke up early with them. But if it hadn't been for him, we would have all been up since 3:50 a.m.
Yeah.
So I want to start off with some quick introductions. Do
Okay.
you want to start off? Just a quick introduction, and if you don't mind, tell us what you eat, what your diet mostly consists of. Later, we'll get on into the why, but
Okay.
right now, you can just tell us what you eat.
Yeah. So I lean more towards the animal based side of carnivore. Not as liberal as some, but so majority of my diet is based around red meat. People will ask why I don't like if you've noticed, I've never posted a chicken video. Um, it has nothing to do with the carnivore diet. It's the fact that I spent a very large portion of my life eating chicken and rice, eating chicken and vegetables, eating like chicken all day, every day. And if I never have to eat reheated chicken ever again in my life, I will be happy. Like, so that has nothing to do with carnivore diet. That is just, I'm tired of reheated chicken. And I eat so much that I don't cook one meal at a time. Like I cook, eat it for 3 or 4 days, cook again, eat it 3 or 4 days, cook again. So the majority of what I eat is red meat. The same reason I won't eat ground turkey. Um, yeah, I'm getting away from that. So a lot of ground beef, a lot of steak. Steaks I'm not super picky about. It's whatever's on sale. So those are the basis of my diet. I eat a fair amount of bacon, but it's not something that I eat every day. Eggs I eat most of the time. The difference between me and like a super strict carnivore is I will eat a little bit of fruit and I will eat a little bit of honey. So I'll also eat a little bit of dairy, typically raw. If not, it's kefir. And then I do eat a decent amount of cheese. But the biggest difference between what I eat and a super strict carnivore is a serving or two of fruit and a serving of honey.
Oh, okay. I knew you weren't strict carnivore because I know I saw a few reels I think that you had done in the past um, with like fruit smoothies and things like that. And I was wondering if it had something to do with like trying to bulk up for like trying to gain muscle or something like that.
So a little bit, but I just feel better with a little bit. Um, Typically, if I'm staying pretty strict, I'll be under 50 grams of carbs a day. So still by the definition of very low carb, but I've done the absolutely no carbs for an extended period of time. But how I feel when I work out, I feel infinitely better with just a little bit. And I try and stick to, stuff that I handle well, and stuff that I feel gives me good, I don't want to say energy, but it's essentially what it is, energy. So it's blueberries, strawberries, and honey are the staples of what little carbs that I do eat.
So beef, butter, bacon, eggs, plus some fruit, mainly berries, and some dairy.
Yep.
That sounds pretty close to what I eat. Very, very close. I stick to the same mantra. It's just whatever makes me feel good. And most of it, I don't work out. I haven't looked at the gym in years, and I'm happy about that. I don't intend on going back anytime soon. Um, but not that I don't want to. It's just I've seen changes in my body that I thought were only possible through the gym.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and as a woman, I'm not really trying to bulk up or like gain tons of muscle or anything like that. So I think that I've accomplished things with my diet that I thought were only possible at the gym. And now that I know that it's not, um, kind of changes things for me, you know?
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
Intentional Carnivore says he gave up, I think he's talking about coffee for 5 months, but added it back. Always black. Too lazy to learn how to make it different. Um, and Leon says I have to add at least butter. Can't do plain black. Yeah, I can't do just butter either. Like I have to have cream.
Mm-hmm.
I have to have at least cream. Sweetener I've gotten away from lately, which has made me feel better, less cravings. That's something I really struggled with, and still kind of do. But yeah, sweetener is, my weakness. Um,
Yeah, I doing being super strict for like shows, you have very limited windows for calories. And I learned real quick that the fewer calories I drank, like the more I could actually eat. So
eat.
giving up that was like, all right, I'll give that up. And then, I mean, I'll admit it. I'm by the strict definition of the word, I'm addicted to coffee. Like I'll get headaches if I don't drink
Hmm.
coffee. I'm not afraid to admit that. So it was either suffer through that and power through or drink it black. And I was like, all right, let's do it.
Okay. See, if you see in yourself in a situation where it's you either give it up or not. I don't know if I would give it up. Um, but someone would have to make me give up heavy cream. There have to be a really darn good reason for me to give that up. You know.
Yeah.
Um, so what changes have you seen? Like walk me through the beginning of first of all, like how you learned about this way of eating, how it started for you. Did you believe all the hype about it, first of all, or did you kind of have to see it for yourself and like see the changes before you believed it?
So for me, even though I've seen a lot of like physical changes, it wasn't about the physical changes for me because this isn't uncharted territory for me. Um, in my late 20s, early 30s, I worked at a gym, right? I trained people. I competed in physique shows. So like that's always been ingrained. I played baseball in college. So like athletics and dieting and sports, like all that has been like ingrained almost my whole life. Um, had little kids, made a cross country move, didn't have a gym nearby, and then like, right, life, right. So part of it was me recommitting to just getting rid of crap, right? Because I know there's 1,000 different ways for me to lose weight and get in the shape that I want. The like eye-opening moment was, have you ever done Whole 30 or heard of Whole
No, but
30?
I've heard about it, but no, I don't know.
Yeah, so I've done it a couple times. Whole 30 is basically you just eat whole foods. Like if it's processed, if it has ingredients, like you don't eat it. Like, and that's like the very basics of the diet is to just get rid of processed foods. So you prioritize lean meats, fruits, vegetables, that kind of stuff. Uh, and so I had done that about a year ago, but I did it for 90 days. And I lost a bunch of weight, like for me, a bunch of weight, uh, but I didn't feel good. Like I was like, man, like I am so tired of eating this, and I should be feeling good because I'm eating no processed food, no alcohol, no nothing. And I extended it. I did it for 90 days, and then I was like, well, screw this. And 6 months later, I gained all the weight back. And it was after a trip to Vegas where I just spent like every time I ate, I would just be bloated and be like, okay, this like I gotta change something. And my wife actually sent me Paul Saladino's page, Carnivore MD, and she's like, all right, so he's a little kooky, like he's a little out there with it, but take a look at it. And for me, it makes sense what he was saying from like a biology standpoint. So my background is in sports medicine. So I have a bachelor of science in sports medicine. And so the things he was saying, I was like, okay, I can make sense of that from like a physiological level. So I'll try it. Uh, and it was within a couple days of giving up vegetables that I was like, wait, I'm not bloating. Like, you mean I can actually eat without like feeling terrible for the rest? Because I spent so much of my life, even when I was competing, you would look super good first thing in the morning, and then 30 seconds after eating for the rest of the day, it looked like you gained 10 pounds. And like that was normal. Like I just thought that's the way it was. And so that was the first thing that I was like, okay, I don't care if he's kooky or not. Like if I can eat without bloating, like I'm gonna do it. And then I got further and further into it, and it's honestly a lot of the same principles that I've used in the past. It's the getting rid of vegetables that was the huge one, because I've tried to be good about vegetables, right? Like try and choke down spinach from time to time, try and eat kale, mushrooms, onions, like all that kind of stuff. And as soon as I got rid of it, like I was just like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. And then that's when I just like kept going with it. And I wasn't even very strict at first. I would eat like carnivore for meals, and then I'd eat chips for, snack after dinner or whatever. I'd still drink on occasion. And then I finally got to the point where I was like, all right, so I'm going to like go a little next level with it and go a little more strict with it. But that's how I came up on the diet, and that's why I started it. Um, the unintended consequences were like having, I say chronic, but they weren't huge problems, but like chronic inflammatory issues, like GI issues, stuff that I just thought was normal, right? Like
Right.
you have a little eczema or you have a little psoriasis and you're like, yeah, that, it's just normal. Like people have stuff like that. Um, it hasn't completely reversed, but I've had, you can't tell because I literally just shaved, but uh, I had, male pattern baldness start to reverse. So I had like widow's peaks pretty bad and it pretty thin in the back. And it's still fairly thin, but like the widow's peak started to grow back. And
When
I posted one on my, what do you say?
Sorry to interrupt you. When did you start noticing that? Was it how long after you started this like meat being more meat heavy that you started noticing your hair
Um,
back?
the hair wasn't until a couple months after I got fairly strict with it. So I went from about September to the rest of the year pretty loose on it.
Hmm.
And then the first of the year since I've been fairly strict. And it was a couple months into that that I started to notice. Like I like took a picture and I was like, that's not near like wait, what? And I like showed it to my wife. She's like, no, that's definitely like I was like, but like I thought I was crazy. I'm like, what's happening right now? So that's stuff that I didn't anticipate with the diet. Like I didn't even start the diet for that. I literally just wanted to lose that dad bod and like stop feeling like crap.
Right.
And then that accomplished it with it. And I was like, okay, like I'm sold. Like I'll keep diving into this and keep going.
Yeah. 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 I think that your story is very much what a lot of people start off doing is they just try it just like for what the heck. And then the first thing that I think anyone could notice if you go um well, it depends, I guess, how far down you've sunken into the standard American diet, right? If you stop the processed crap and just go to vegetables, then you'll notice like less inflammation. But if you're already, like you said, whole 30 and you're already eating whole foods, which is supposed to be great, right? Like that sounds like the perfect diet is just eat real whole foods. But then you don't realize until you cut out all the vegetables how much inflammation that still causes,
Yeah.
which is incredible because to me, I still go back and like I've been doing keto um, for 2 years, but it started off super dirty keto. Like I was in nursing school when or I was about to start nursing school, I think. So I had little to no time. Like I was eating like the keto snack bars and keto chips, and sometimes I was not eating keto stuff at all. And it was like a very gradual progression. And now, since I've gotten more and more strict um, to Ketovore, I did a triple B&E challenge in February. And at the beginning of March, I decided, okay, I'm done with triple B&E, but I'm cutting back on vegetables. I'm cutting back on carbs. And it's not really that hard for me because who freaking likes kale? Who freaking likes spinach?
Yeah.
Nobody really. Like you don't. Nobody like it doesn't have a good taste. And it's crazy how you thought that the things that were normal before, they're not normal at all. I don't get bloated after I eat. I can scarf down a huge amount of meat and feel totally fine. Like, yes, I feel full, I feel satiated, but I'm not bloated. I did not just gain, I just not just go up 2 pant sizes, which
Yeah.
is typical. You have to unbutton your pants because you just can't fit in them anymore after you eat. So that was normal, and it almost feels like I don't know, like we live in a whole different world. Like I go to the store and it never ceases to surprise me, like the amount of crap that is just like packed into people's grocery carts. Um, and the even the things that we know are not good for us. Like no one thinks that donuts are good for you. No one thinks
Yeah.
that Twinkies are good for you. But I think just we've been taught that diet really doesn't play a big role in you're just genetically fat. There's no hope. There's not really anything you can do. Just take this pill and you'll be fine. You know,
Yeah.
that's sadly, I think, a big part of the issue. But yeah, okay. Um, all right, I wanted to ask you a little bit about your training. Your training. Do you follow a workout program, or do you just kind of do what you want to do?
Uh, so I answer this for, if you were to take a look from an outside perspective, it looks like it's kind of random. Um, but this is something that's like, and this is not to like speak highly of myself whatsoever. But I've had enough experience working out that I can roll out of bed and like develop a program in my head and have an idea of what I'm going to do for the next 8 weeks. Right. And I don't have to write it down. I don't have to, sketch it out. Sometimes I do. Um, I personally, honestly, don't even know what I'm going to do. Like, I know a body part that I'm going to do on a day-to-day basis, but I don't necessarily know what exercises I'm going to do. A lot of it has to do with how I'm feeling. So the short answer is yes, I do follow a program. But if you ask me to write it down right now, I'd be like,
It's
ask me
your own.
tomorrow and I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Right. Yeah. So I kind of fly by the seat of my pants, but that's not a good answer for the typical person because this has been the last 20 years of my life, right? Is doing this on a day-to-day basis and creating programs and like that's what I do. So yes, I do. Those workouts will change depending on what it is I'm trying to accomplish, whether I'm trying to put on a little bit of size, whether I'm trying to cut down a little bit. Uh, would I benefit from sketching it out a little bit more? Yes, but it's something that's worked for me well. It's worked in the past, and so yeah, mostly 99% of what I do is centered around weightlifting. I hate cardio. I hate cardio with a passion. My entire life, like cardio is a penalty for doing something wrong in sports. Like, oh, you messed up, go run. Like, and so I'm like, no, I absolutely hate cardio. I will do it if I'm getting down to like a cut and I need to like go the extra. But if I can avoid cardio, I will not do it for any reason. So yeah,
Everyone
almost
thinks
exclusive.
it's the best thing to do. Everyone does cardio because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
No?
like it can. It's a good tool. I'm not gonna. I really should have a higher VO2 max. Like I should be able to run more. I hate running. Like running's hard on my knees and my hip. Like, but yeah, I should. But I also, the way I view it is I take how much time I have and what's the most bang for the buck I can get in the amount of time. And cardio's not the answer. So I've never had to use cardio in order to get a general result, right? So if I want to like cut down and I want to lose weight, I don't need to do cardio to do that. I can do it with my diet and working out. If I'm doing a show, yeah, I've got to do it and it sucks, but it's not something that I find a staple of my program. Uh, I don't know if this is actually an Arnold quote, but there's quotes that go around attributed that say cardio is just lifting weights faster. Like that's my stance on it. I'm sticking to it.
I like that. Do you think you've noticed a change in, you've been training for a long time. Do you think you've noticed a change in your results, the results that you get, or how you feel after you train with what you eat?
Uh, yes, because I'm not fighting the the chronic like GI bloat, right? So one of the craziest things to me, and it sounds funny to talk about it, but is, have you ever heard the term protein farts? Right, that's like a staple for gym, right? And everybody attributes it to eating more protein, and it's just like your natural state of being on somebody that's a high protein, bodybuilding type diet. Um, that's been the biggest thing for me is like lack of like gas and bloating. Like it's just that's been amazing to me, right? And
Right.
so that in and of itself, I just feel better. I don't have to be as worried about timing my meals around when I work out in case I bloat or don't feel good. I do have more energy. Not a ton. Like I'm not going to say like I was super lethargic before, and then I eat this way, and I'm like, but there's definitely a difference from a mental standpoint. It's a lot easier to get the energy and stay with the routine when you see not only the physical results but how you feel. Like that's the biggest thing. I could probably going to get murdered for saying this, but I could probably go vegan and get physical results. Like I could probably not the same. It'd probably be harder,
Right.
but I could probably maintain muscle and lose weight and trim up a little bit going vegan, but I
Right.
wouldn't
It's
feel good.
trained
Like I would
hard.
just feel terrible, right? So it's the results help, but ultimately it's just how I feel. Like I sleep better. Uh, I've had like I never had diagnosed sleep apnea, but I had a little bit of snoring problems. So probably had a little bit. You know, your standard, right? Everybody thinks they have something. That's gotten better. I wake up feeling better. It's just general life feel better, and
Mhm.
that allows me to go harder and more consistent in the gym, which in turn leads to better results. So that's the biggest thing for me. It's just being able to eat and not feel terrible.
Right. Right. Well, now that you're talking about just generally feeling better, like not that you were diagnosed with anything, but just these little aches and pains, little annoyances went away. That's that's exactly what happened to me. I think I caught it early enough that I wasn't diagnosed with anything. I hadn't gone too far into despair that I was diagnosed with diabetes or anything like that. But I don't doubt that I could have. Not only does it run in my family, but my diet was super low fat, super high carb, healthy carbs, but very high carb, like oatmeal, you know. Um, so it was like I was headed down that path, and all of the things that I made a video of the few things that I saw improvements in. And when I was making that video, I remember, wow, like I don't worry about these things. It was I didn't notice these things before because they were normal to me.
Yeah,
One thing was, and it's easy to downplay them because I've never been someone who's had to lose a ton of weight. I've never been someone who can be like, oh, I lost a ton of weight on keto. No, I didn't. I've never had to lose a ton of weight. But there was so many other things that have improved for me. For example, I had really bad dandruff, and anyone in my family can attest to this. I've always been a picker, so I would get these like really thick scabs. It's disgusting, I know. And I would just pick at them until they bled. Like, and I just couldn't figure out like, was I washing my hair too much? Was I not washing it enough? Was I not using the right shampoo? Like, what was it? I just couldn't figure it out for the life of me. And so I just resorted to using like, I think I tried a medicated shampoo once, and like Head and Shoulders was my friend and stuff. And I just, that, I haven't seen dandruff in 2 years. Also, the skin on my hands, um, they would always get dry to the point of cracking at least once a year for a few months during the winter time. My sister and I kind of have similar skin in that way, and we would compare like our skin, like whose skin was more cracked on our hands, or like bleeding almost. It was crazy. I haven't seen my skin dry in, I think that came a little bit later, in almost 2 years. And so there was other things. Bloating was an immediate thing that you just, you cut out the inflammatory stuff and you're not going to bloat. I remember, just a quick anecdote on that. I remember one time when my mom made cauliflower soup, and I was bent over in pain that night because I had so much gas. I had so much bloating, and my husband almost didn't believe me because, again, this like notion that vegetables are good for you. You don't realize that they can harm you. And like it was just so painful. And that was kind of my realization, like they really are. You have to kind of see the impact that it has on you before you get it, not someone just telling you. Um, and no, that was like my wake up call, like no more vegetables. I'm doing the right thing by cutting out vegetables. At least most of them, not all of them. I do eat some. Um, and the biggest change that I saw with keto was my skin cleared up. I have old videos on this channel where, because I just started doing random vlogs, and you can see the inflammation all over my face. I got like made fun of and my family and at school for my acne. It was really, really bad. And I have not seen my skin this clear ever, ever. And so I don't know. I think that's a big deal because I didn't think it was possible. I It runs in my family. I just thought it was genetic. I was told a million and one um, cures for it, right? Like put this stuff on your face, and I even went to the extremes of taking antibiotics for it, which it worked, but then came a slew of side effects. So, so yeah, I think I didn't expect those things. I was just thinking. I think I started watching Dr. Barry. That's how I found out about it, and I figured, well, if it's the right thing for me to do, then okay, I guess I'll give it a try. Maybe I'll lose a little bit of weight, the baby weight, because after my first pregnancy, it did take some time for me to lose the baby weight. I lost it and then some, and then all of these other benefits that I just told you about. So, um, yeah, I think we've seen like unexpected benefits, and I think other people can also probably agree with us on that. I wanted to ask you how having two small children, how do you like what is their diet like? Do you restrict their diet in any way?
So I don't at all. Um, and I posted a response to a question on my Instagram story a little while back, and I got a couple comments on it. Uh, my kids are young, right? They're 2 and 4. I don't. So my restriction is trying to limit their processed food. I don't restrict their carbs in any way. I had somebody ask why that was and if I was worried about them getting too many carbs. The short of it is their brains are still developing, and their brains are going to use upwards of 130 grams of glucose a day. And the body's, if it's available, the body will use dietary carbs for that. Um, I'm not trying to put my kids through any type of stressful gluconeogenesis type stuff where they have to produce their own glucose. Um, Maybe that's right, maybe that's wrong. I'm trying to limit what any additional stresses that my kids have to go through. Like I don't want them in ketosis. I don't want to restrict anything of that. So I don't limit their fruit. I mean, at the end of the day, they're little and they don't eat that much anyway. But so fruit's a big hit. We do eat more processed foods than probably should, but also at the end of the day, my oldest was very small when he was born, and I spent a good portion of his childhood, like his early weeks, having to feed him with syringes. So my goal is for him to eat. And
Mhm.
yes, he's getting older, and yes, I can like start to shape the foods that he's going to eat. But if it's the difference between him not eating and him eating, like he's going to eat, and I'm not going to restrict that, right?
Mhm.
So we are getting better about, yesterday they had steak and fruit and cheese for dinner, which is big for him. Like he's never really been a straight meat kid. It's always had to like put it in other stuff.
Mhm.
So we're definitely moving that way. Try, but he's also not the kid that goes to a friend's house and is like, no, I can't have a piece of candy, or I'm not trying to be that restrictive with him. As he gets older and as he stops developing, then he can start like going that. And yes, I will do my best to try and avoid crap. I'll look at the ingredients on something and be like, okay, we're not going to do that.
Right.
But no, I'm not super restrictive, and I definitely don't restrict carbs that they eat.
Gotcha. Okay. Our, I should say my stance on that is very similar. The only rule we have is, well, I guess two rules is yes, we try to limit processed food. That doesn't mean we don't have any. We just choose better ingredient stuff. And the other one is we just try to have a meal first. So if you're gonna have breakfast, and you're gonna have breakfast before you have. We have these little coconut rolls that are the cookies. So you're gonna have breakfast before you have cookies,
Yeah,
or you're gonna have some kind of food before you dig into some fruit. That's kind of our only rules, because it's really hard. Like our family is big, and we love to get together, and we have lots of kids in our family, and they're all carrying around a bag of something, um, and so it's hard to watch your kid be the only one not have something, so I try to look for alternatives to stuff, just for those situations where someone has a sucker and he really wants a sucker. I found some sugar-free suckers on Amazon. Turns out there's all kinds of, alternatives to everything nowadays. So we do our best, but yes, generally, if it's the difference between them not eating or eating something, like you're gonna have them eat something, even
yeah,
if it's not the strictest in the low carb sense. So
yeah, and it's also when you actually look at the amount that they eat. So like a treat for them would be one square of a Hershey's like chocolate bar, right? Like as an adult, you're like, oh, I had a Hershey's chocolate bar, and that's 600 calories and however much. But like a treat for them is like one. I don't know what is that 1/12 of the bar. So when you actually look at the amount of carbs that they don't eat very much. But I'm also not going to tell them, like, if my son wants a banana, I'm not going to be like, no, you've had too many carbs today. Like, eat, eat. You are not in any way, shape, or form an overweight child. So I'm not going to put you on like some restrictive diet, just
mhm.
because I eat that way and I feel better that way.
That's an interesting way of looking at it. Yeah, when my son was born, I was basically paleo. I kind of started paleo, and just cleaning up my diet. So I cut out like seed oils and stuff like that. Um, Flours, I moved everything to almond flour, almond milk, things like that. So that's kind of how he grew up, is already kind of cutting out the worst things. Um, but we still ate like lentil pasta, which was a huge fan of. And so he ate more carbs than my daughter does now, because I don't know, I just decided that I was going to see if she liked steak, right? If she liked
Hmm.
meat, if she was more of a meat eater than he is. Because he likes meat, but he likes it dipped in ketchup and mayo and stuff like that. And he loves fruit and vegetables. He loves it. He freaking loves it.
My
And
kids hate vegetables, so it works great. Like they
oh,
absolutely hate them.
all of
They
them?
won't eat them, all of them. I
Okay.
remember like trying to have to like force feed them to eat. I think one of them liked broccoli a little bit when they were younger, but no. Yeah, so they do not eat vegetables. And I'm sure I will hear that from some school teacher or doctor at some point in my life. But
It's
yeah, they
okay.
are practically vegetable free.
I try to cut out like the stuff that, I mean, we don't have spinach in our house. Well, actually, that's a lie. We do right now because my mother-in-law's she's going to be staying with us and she loves spinach. But no, we don't carry like spinach and the high oxalate stuff. We stick to broccoli, and that's it. Like broccoli, lettuce. I like to make a bacon and egg salad, and that's kind of what I stick to. Um, and that's the majority of our vegetables. Like we don't eat a ton of vegetables, but my son sure as heck could scarf down some vegetables. He would prefer it over meat for sure. My daughter, on the other hand, my 9.5-month-old, she loves steak. She loves bacon, loves ground beef. Um, she's not a fan of vegetables either. So
Yeah.
it's easy with her. She loves fruit and meat. So yes, I've been letting her have fruit, berries mostly. But yeah, she'll scarf down some meat, so I'm not worried about her at all. Um Jaw from Revitalize Yourself said he loves your shirt, JT. Where can he get one? Where can someone get one if they want one?
My website. I make
Okay.
them.
Okay.
It's
I think
it's linked in all of my bios, but it's theinnercarnivore.com.
okay. I linked your Instagram, so I think that if they go to the link in the
Yep.
description,
All
they
of
can.
I think all of my social media pages have a link in there.
Okay.
But yeah, these are shirts that I came up with, and yeah, sell them on there.
Only meats. I like it. I love that.
Explaining it to my parents is an interesting one, but yeah.
Oh, what do they think about your diet or your way of
Uh,
eating?
so they're they're fine with it. Like they've seen me do some not crazy in the sense that I eat weird things, but they've seen me do some very restrictive things with my diet. So this isn't like super crazy to them. They've been more inquisitive about it than anything. My dad's tried it a little bit, but there's certain things that are just hard um, for him to give up. But this is run of the mill for me and my family.
Yeah. At least they're not against it, right? Or
Yeah.
ostracizing you for that's good. My family has they I should say they kind of just I don't know. I think they think I'm crazy. I don't think that everyone really takes me seriously. My sister has gotten more into keto and she's going keto. She's just doing a very slow process as is normal. Because she has a whole family to transition to keto, and it's cutting out the staples, man. Like tortillas is a staple
Hmm.
in Mexican households. Rice is a staple in lots of households. Um, those are the two main things. And in our household, at least, when we grew up, we had to have a little dessert after dinner. There was always a little bit of pan dulce, some sweet bread, or cookies, or something that we had to have after dinner, regardless of how much we just ate. It was, and I still crave it to this day. Like I still crave something sweet after dinner every
Hmm.
day, and it's a struggle. So I've had to look for alternatives to the really shitty stuff that I crave. Um, LPH says those cookies are delicious. Are you talking about the coconut rolls? I love those. My son likes them, and they're a really good alternative. I really enjoy your vlogs. Thank you for sharing what you eat. Thank you. Can you do a skin and hair care routine vlog? And do you wear perfume? Um, I can do a skin and hair care routine vlog, but it would be very boring because I only wash my hair like once a week and I don't wear perfume. I never have. I never have. I'll do it like very like on occasion. I do have a perfume that my husband gave me, but it's like I'll wear it very sparingly. JP, I'll visit your channel soon. Says it will go away. I don't want to. Okay, I don't want to vaccinate my child anymore. My child has developed a rash, but doctor says it will go away. I'm not sure what your question is, LPH. Are you asking what your child's rash may be? Because that's
I think I saw one of it. I think their question was what our view on vaccines are.
Oh,
Let's see.
okay. Oh,
Oh, there we
you're
go. I can pull it up. Okay. Uh, my personal opinion. So my kids are vaccinated. Um, I made. How do I get rid of these chats now? There we go. My wife and I made a decision to put them on the vaccine schedule when they were younger. If I had a newborn now, I might rethink that. Um, I'm not inherently opposed to vaccines, but the last couple of years have definitely made me question a lot more than I did in the past.
yeah.
And that's all I'll say about that without getting political.
Hmm. Yeah, you have to be careful what you say there, because there's people on both sides of the, and there's a spectrum. I'd say I fall somewhere in between as well. I'm not against all vaccines, but I'm very much against some vaccines. And the all you can do is like educate yourself about them. So I read, um ah, there was one doctor, I can't remember the name of the book, but one book is called How to Keep Your Child Health, or How to Have a Healthy Child Despite Your Doctor, or something like that. And there was a couple other books I read. I'm gonna add it to the description of the replay in this video. I can add the link to like different um, three different books that I read, because this was not a decision that I took lightly, especially with my second one. I was a little bit more knowledgeable about the risks involved. And so, yeah, just educate yourself on it. We did kind of a delayed thing, and it was like pick and choose. We weren't putting our kids on the entire vaccine schedule. It was the things that we decided were okay. Um, but yeah, just educate yourself about it. Do as much research as you can. Your doctor is going to want any and all vaccines for your child, but it's your decision ultimately. From the moment that they're born, they get vaccinations and medications and antibiotics. It's like crucial that you educate yourself on what all they get. Peanut Butter says, "Hi, I'm subscribing to your channel. This is a really interesting discussion. Jason is very entertaining on Twitter, dealing with the aliens." I need to hear some
Twitter
vegan stories.
Twitter is my alter ego. Like, and it surprises people because most people that I interact with, so I have all of the social medias. I actually don't really do, well, I mean, you can't really do much on YouTube other than post videos. Like, you can go to people's pages and comment, I guess. Uh, but YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, I have them just because I just repost the exact same stuff that I post to Instagram. Instagram and Twitter are the two accounts that I create content for. A lot of what I post on Twitter, I don't post on Instagram because I try and be a little more positive and like upbeat. Like, I don't have beef with anybody. I've got like one person that comments on some of my stuff on Instagram, but it's all like positive. Twitter, not so much.
What is it
Twitter,
with Twitter? Like all the negativity
Twitter's
for
just so
weird.
much easier. Like, Twitter is built around just seeing people's stuff and being able to fire off comments, right? Like, I can go onto Twitter and I can see thousands of people's posts, and it's more based on like just comments, right? It's not, you can post videos, you can post pictures, but it's all centered around what was when they first came out, it was like 90 characters, right? It's all centered around just short, quick, rapid fire information. And that makes it really easy to comment on a whole bunch of people's different stuff. And then all of a sudden you just have conversations going back and forth. Instagram, it's like I have to go find people's stuff and then I have to leave a comment and then they might reply back. And it's not the same level of interaction
Right.
as it is on Twitter, where it's random people's stuff shows up on my feed a lot more than Instagram, where it's usually people that you follow, right?
Oh, so
So
Twitter's like that aren't necessarily agree with what you post.
Yeah, so where you get into trouble is when you decide you want to try and troll PETA, and then all of a sudden a whole bunch of vegan stuff shows up on your timeline, and you're like, well, I gotta comment on that too. And then all of a sudden it's just crazy.
It goes downhill from there.
Uh, but yeah, I mean, it is. I honestly was not open to the world of veganism until I started this and realized just how crazy it can get. I find it entertaining. Like that's like my guilty pleasure because nothing anybody says on the internet is going to make me mad. Like
Right?
you're super nice, and so I'm sure you get no hate. But on a daily basis, I get some kind of like wishing me death or heart attacks or like I don't post about my family very much because social media can be crazy. So people outside of my followers don't really know anything about my family. But I'll get people attack my family, like just oh my gosh, the amount. And I screenshot and post them sometimes, but on a daily basis, it's wishing heart attack, colon cancer, calling me all kinds of names. Like oh yeah, and like you're not gonna bother me. You're some random person hiding behind a screen. Like so, I'll play into it just because I want to see the level that a grown adult will go to calling names to a random stranger on the internet. I find that kind of funny. Um, so yeah, people. There's not a whole lot of crossover between people that follow me on Twitter and people that follow me on Instagram or YouTube or anything like that. But I get a kick out of it.
I can see that. I know that like Twitter tends to be one of the more controversial social medias just because people do have like less hair on their tongue. You almost
You,
make me want to get a Twitter account. Almost.
the thing about Twitter is there's no thought that has to go into it, right? So YouTube, you have to create a video. So at the very least, I have to set my camera up, turn it on, and speak into the camera. Same with TikTok. Facebook, I can post stuff, but it's not as likely to show up on random people's feeds. Instagram, I have to do something. I have to do a picture. I have to do, there has to be a level of me putting in some effort to create. Twitter, I can go on and piss off half the population in 12 seconds. Like
That's
literally
so
just
dangerous
send.
though, because anyone can just like post whatever the heck they want without a
Yeah.
thought.
Yep.
That sounds like TikTok though, except with obviously like a camera, But that sounds
I
like
don't
TikTok.
like TikTok at all. I hate TikTok. Um,
Too, and I don't even have
which
one.
which I probably shouldn't because TikTok's my largest following. Like, but I follow some carnivore people, but I never go on, like, I never scroll TikTok. I never look at, the only thing I use for TikTok is finding videos that I can repurpose sometimes. But yeah, I'm never on TikTok. I hate the platform, but it's my most successful one at the moment. So I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll just roll with it.
I hear it's the most addicting.
That's
Just
what they
because
say because it's just like video after video after video. But I don't know. I mean, the amount of time I spend on TikTok is I respond to comments and I take a video that I've already posted somewhere else and I post it. And that's the extent of time that I spend on TikTok.
yeah, yeah. I don't blame you for that. um, what what has your what is the latest dumb vegan comment that you've had lately?
Negative comment?
Yeah.
Let's see. I
I
got
don't think you get very many comments from vegans, do you?
not on Instagram. Like I'll get there's one guy, very entertaining on my YouTube channel, hundreds of comments, like hundreds of comments between all of my videos. Uh, but he's at least respectful. Like he doesn't call names. He just posts study after study after study after study. Then I've seen them all. But um, I think the latest one was calling me. People really enjoy emotive language on Twitter. They're incapable of talking to somebody they disagree with without using that. So carcass eater, coward, animal abuser. Those are the most common ones. And that's what they put as your name, right? They can't refer to you as anything but. So it's like, okay, carcass eater, and then they make their point. Or they're like, okay, animal abuser, and then they make their point. That's typical.
That's
Like,
not a good way to start off a conversation is by like intentionally offending somebody. Yeah, that
yeah,
sucks.
right.
Hmm,
But I
hmm.
mean, I expect some of it because I'll egg it on. Like, I really enjoy following PETA. Actually, don't even follow PETA. They just show up in my feed a lot. PETA is very entertaining because PETA posts some of the most ridiculous stuff. So that always leads to people then commenting on mine, to then going to my page and finding my post to comment on, and then it just goes on. And most of the time, I just start something and then let two other people fight about it on my post, and I'm just like, okay. I'll like look at the comments and be like, okay, I'm not even part of the conversation anymore. So much
Right,
so that I'll make a comment and they're like, you're not even a part of this conversation. I'm like, it's my post. You're on my page right now. Like, you can't tell me I'm not part of the conversation when it's mine.
right.
But it's entertaining. It lets me get my devious side out. And you actually, it's not the most efficient way, but you actually end up learning a lot about the views that you hold and the views that other people hold because you're just bombarded with it nonstop.
Yeah. I think that's the one thing that that I'm interested in is I I've always thought that it's a good thing, right? That you surround yourself like social media wise around people that have similar views and stuff, but I kind of do wish that I had differing, views on like that I got people that are vegans post and things like that. Like I want to see what they're thinking. I want to see what their thought process is. Um, because at the bare minimum, I want to be able to have a conversation with someone, and I can always respect. Like no matter what you do, no matter what you eat, I'm not going to judge you for that. Like your character. So at the very least, I think someone should be able to have like a decent conversation with you instead of I don't think it's necessarily healthy to avoid a conversation with someone that doesn't agree with you, but there's a way to have those conversations without going off the rails. So i I did have someone actually post, but they weren't offensive or anything. I actually I forgot what it was that they told me. They said something about I don't know. They ate vegans, and they went off on like this rant about how meat and eating blood of animals was going to take me to hell, um, and how
I
like
personally love when they bring religion into it.
well, and like eating living things is what makes you alive, and like if you eat dead things, then so but she never offended me. And I was like, hey, to each their own. You eat your living things. I'm going to keep eating my dead animals. And that's where we left it. But it was funny, like what goes through people's minds. Um, but yeah, again, I'm not gonna judge anyone for that. If they tell me they eat raw vegan and they're as thin as a pencil, like that's I think you have to learn from your body, and I'm just grateful that I'm at a point where I can listen to my body, where I can understand this food doesn't agree with me. Not because someone else told me I shouldn't eat this, but because my body told me it's not okay to eat this, you know?
Yeah, and that's one of people assume a lot based on my handle. Um, they assume that I hold certain views and beliefs, and that's the biggest one for me. Is I genuinely wish that everybody would eat whatever it takes for them to be optimal. Like and I've said this before. If given a choice of eating a standard American diet or going vegan, I wish everybody would go vegan. Like, vegan is hands down better than a standard American diet. Like you're obviously going to see, and that's 99% of these studies that people see and that people quote is from that. It's a deviation from a standard American diet, and you're going to get healthy no matter what you eat. Like, so
Yeah.
if that's what it takes, do it. I don't care. Like, and that's why I know a lot of people like to hate on Paul Saladino, but that's one of the things I respect about him is he's been on podcasts where he's like, if you're thriving on a vegan diet, do it. Don't change it. However, I think most people aren't, and here's why, which is what my opinion is. But if you're telling me that you're in excellent shape and you feel great and you have no health issues mentally or physically, and you're doing vegan and that makes you happy, do it. By all means, do it. Don't stop. Don't eat meat. I don't care. Um, but people assume that I'm offended that people eat plants or something. Like I don't care. Like I just think people can benefit from my experience um, and knowledge that I have both of what I'm currently doing and what I've done in the past. And if you want to listen to that, listen to it. If you don't. That's fine. Don't care. So
Exactly.
it's definitely funny, especially having carnivore in my handle. People are like, "Oh, you think you're a lion?" I'm like, oh, it's a diet, bro. Like, I'm not, they're like, "Oh, I want to see you go crawl around on four legs and eat your food with no tools, or like just go catch it." I'm like, "Bro, you gotta chill." Like, my favorite is, "Oh, you're such an apex predator." My favorite comeback to that is be like, "We are such apex predators that I'm about to order some food from my phone and not even have to leave." I actually did a video on that.
You should.
Uh, I did a spoof video on how good of hunters we are, and it was DoorDash.
Oh,
But
oh yeah, I think I watched it.
yeah,
I love your food videos, but I think my favorite ones are just anything, any comedy. Like we have the same um, sense of humor. I think for sure.
yeah, and
Um,
I'm feeling like you never realize how nervous you get doing something until you record yourself to put it on social media. Like just talking, like that's one thing. Um, like the ordering steak video the other day, like I'm getting more comfortable with it, but yeah, you realize that you're a little like apprehensive to do stuff because inevitably somebody's going to be like, "Oh my gosh, that was terrible. That's not funny. Why did you
well,
do
'cause there's
that?"
eyes
Like,
on you. It feels like there's eyes on you, even though they're
right?
tech. Well, we don't know, but technically there are going to be. So yeah, it's a pressure. I feel it
Yeah,
too.
but it's as as I've been doing it more and as like I'm getting more comfortable editing videos, it's just if I find something funny, I'll post it, and that's why my stuff's so random. Like everything from Ron Swanson videos to comedy stuff to cooking a burger. Like
Yeah. Well, you're getting
it's
really
all over
good
the
at
board.
it. I love your videos.
I
So I
appreciate
know
it.
that we kind of are talking about like some of the like social media challenges to the keto or carnivore, but like have you in your life seen any social challenges to eating this way? Like is your family like against it, or do you like going out or on vacation or things like that? Do you feel like it's a challenge for you to keep on your diet?
Not really, because so I'm at the point where I'll have some leniencies, right? I'm not going to be, there are some people that will go as far as like figuring out what a restaurant cooks in. I'm not really to that point. If I can avoid it, sure. But I'm also not so far to the point that I'm going to completely like just not eat. And I've done that before. Um, Again, that's where my experiences in the past have helped me. I've gone out to eat with friends and not eaten anything because that's what my prep was. Like I just, and there was nothing I could eat, and that's fine. Um, so there's a little bit of that. It just takes a little bit more planning. Um, Anytime that we can cook at home, so like going on a vacation, going over to family's house, anything like that, it's a lot easier because meat is a staple for most. So I'll just eat meat. Like, and I just won't eat maybe the side dishes. So it's not really that big of a deal. It's not like I'm trying to be carnivore with a family that's vegan, or
Right.
stuff like that. So in my opinion, as long as you plan a little bit, which I think is the how you're going to be successful in a diet anyway.
Exactly.
A diet, a lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, like you have to have an idea of what you're going to eat or when you're going to cook or how you're going to get it. And if you don't, that's when you reach in and you order from DoorDash and you eat Taco Bell and whatever it is. So
Yes.
not really, like it's not any different than my past experiences, and it just requires a little bit of
Planning.
either yeah, advanced planning and maybe some flexibility, maybe not, but yeah, that's the advanced planning is just being mindful of where I'm going to eat, when I'm going to eat, and how I'm going to eat.
Exactly. Yeah, I think same for me. I mean, my family, we love meat. We all of my family loves meat, but the difference is sometimes we cook our meat in stuff, um, in like a vegetable soup. And I already
Yeah,
talked about my experience with vegetable soup. It's not pleasant. So if I can avoid it, I just ask for something to be cooked on the side for me, or I just go full. It's the same for me. I don't think I've had any besides explaining it to my family, which I'm kind of 2 years in, they've already gotten used to me being the meat eater of the family, and they just think I'm weird and then just ignore me. They don't really, make a big deal about it anymore. But in terms of like when we do go out, it is a little bit harder because there's stuff that has like sauce on it, and I have to like look for ways to remove it. Or if it's something sweet, I go down a bad place. Like I am addicted to sweets and I always have been. I just didn't realize it until I tried to cut them out and I realized I couldn't. It's really, really hard. So even things that are just slightly sweet or with meat, like people add sweets to their meat. It's wild that we do that, but we do, and that sends me down a bad path. So I try to avoid it when I can, but I don't think I'm as strict either. I try to just stick with it when I can and look for alternatives also. Sugar free stuff helps. At least you know that you're not having the bad sugar, although it is sugar alcohol. So I think part of it is just being graceful with yourself and getting right back on it. When someone calls himself keto or ketovore, carnivore, it's it has to be an intentional thing that I'm doing this because I know I'm gonna feel good, not because this is my handle on social media and this is what they think about me or this is what someone told me I should be eating. No, like
yeah,
I'm going to just deal with the consequences. I need to do it because of me. And I'm getting to that point. And I share in my vlogs the stuff that I eat that is not perfect. Even when I did triple B and E, I cheated and I kind of kicked myself a little bit, to be honest, but looking back, I shouldn't have because I'm human and I'm eating a million times better than I used to be. So, yeah, it's a grace thing. So, um LPH says has any of you had gallbladder removal surgery? I've noticed lots of bloating after getting the surgery. I'll be doing full carnivore. My mother is worried from all of the fat I will be consuming. Um,
I do want to say I believe it's either Barry or Kilts, that has a like a blog post. It's not really a blog post. It's like an article on their website about carnivore and gallbladder.
mhm,
I forget who it is exactly, but I'm pretty sure if you Google carnivore and gallbladder, there's like a whole, like I briefly read over it, so not enough to like speak to it,
mhm.
because that is typically the issue with gallbladder is the high fat content.
Yeah.
But there are ways to like work it in, and that's what I would suggest from people that have much more experience with that than I know about.
Yeah, I think same here. I'm pretty sure Dr. Berry has a video on it. And again, I don't know enough to speak too much on it. You may have to um, work work small amounts of fat into your diet slowly. Um, I mean, it's gonna have to be something that you experience because even everyone with a gallbladder removal is not going to have the same effects as you. So I would probably like just do small amounts of fat, work it into your meals. Thanks, Intentional Carnivore, for joining. Um, I don't know if he's still here, but Intentional Carnivore yesterday said that he wanted to do a challenge where he ate 50 eggs live. Like that sounds
Have
fun,
Have you
but
seen that video? Did you see the video that I posted of the
yes,
Asian lady?
yes, I have seen it before. I've seen it
Yeah,
before.
I've seen that
Incredible.
before too. Oh,
That's incredible, and it's
yeah, I don't know
raw.
about.
Too. Could you do that?
Yeah, no, no, I don't. That's a texture thing for me. Like I'm not as worried about getting sick from eating raw and undercooked stuff, but I've eaten raw eggs in a smoothie before. That's not a texture that I enjoy. So
And
no, I should.
you can still like notice it.
Oh yeah, there's
Yeah.
like you'll get this flavor from the egg whites,
Hmm.
um, and you'll also get this like slimy texture almost, and it's
Hmm.
just yeah, it's not something that I love over easy. I will eat over easy eggs all day long, raw.
Not so
Maybe
much.
if it was just the yolk, like she was doing in that video, maybe, but
Hmm.
raw egg whites when they're yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
I
good.
I ate raw. So when we were younger, these are memories that I didn't even remember. My dad would make us milkshakes with a raw egg in there, and I was like, "Dang, my dad was he knew." Because we needed it, but he wasn't carnivore or anything by any means, but yeah, like he wasn't afraid to put a raw egg into our milkshake in the morning. So I'm like, "Eh," and I don't remember noticing any bad taste. Um, LPH says, Raina, I want to make myself that omelet you made today. Did you see my video today?
I saw it and I got halfway through the omelet
Yeah.
before I had to. Yeah.
That
What was the rest of it? Was it
it
egg,
was
obviously, and then cheese, bacon?
yes, cheese, bacon, tons of ground beef, more cheese, jalapeno, and sour
Nice.
cream. That's been my favorite meal. Like I go through phases where I eat one thing for weeks, and that might be my next phase. Um, all right. So if no one else has any questions, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything that you would recommend to someone starting this way of eating and or trying to gain muscle, trying to work out on this way of eating?
What I tell people is you don't have to go crazy strict to the letter of the law. Like that was the thing that I realized when I first started, more so from a social media standpoint, is you'll get even in the carnivore community, there's the dogma, right? Of if you're gonna go carnivore, you have to only do this, and you can't eat these foods, and you can't. Um, when I talk to people personally who have asked me about it, I tell them the results that you're trying to get or the stuff that you're trying to overcome, the greater that is, the more strict you got to be, right? So if you're just trying to feel a little bit better, like just swap out some vegetables, add more red meat, and you'll be
Right.
better. If you're trying to overcome like all of these GI issues, then you're going to have to be stricter, right? So I would tell people just to start and then go from there with it.
Right. Would you recommend to like anyone like who's never heard of keto carnivore ever before? Would you recommend them like go very strict, almost triple B&E or lion diet and then add things back in? Because I feel like
I would say
that's
taper off. I would tell them to taper off. Oh, I think I'm going to have to go. I think I have a
oh, okay.
crying
Good.
child.
Thank
But
you
yeah, I would
so
tell them to
much.
taper off. They don't have to go crazy strict to start with. Like just
Gotcha.
taper it, and then as you figure out foods that they don't like, then they can go from there with it.
Sounds good. Well, thank you so much. I
All right.
appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Have a
this was awesome.
all
Too.
right. Thanks. All right. Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you. Bye bye. Okay. Am I still live? Okay, you guys. That's gonna be it. Thank you guys for being here, the ones who commented. I do plan on doing more of these lives here soon. I'm gonna have some more guests on, or I may do some by myself. That's okay too. Um, yeah, and I guess I will see you guys in the next one. I'll probably do a few more vlogs before I go live. Thank you, Leon. Thank you, LPH. Thank you, Intentional Carnivore. I will see you guys probably in the next week or so. Bye.